The storm raged outside, hammering the streets of Manhattan with relentless sheets of rain. Thunder cracked overhead, momentarily illuminating the towering Regal Crest Hotel, a five-star luxury establishment known for catering to the elite. Soaked from head to toe, Marcus Carter pushed through the revolving doors, his patience already wearing thin. His flight had been canceled due to the storm, and after a grueling day of meetings, all he wanted was a warm bed. Approaching the front desk, he adjusted his drenched coat and spoke in his usual calm, professional tone. "I'd like a room for the night, please." The desk clerk, a sharp-featured man with a smug expression, barely glanced up. His name tag read Derek. He tapped at the computer, then let out an exaggerated sigh. "Sorry, sir, we're fully booked." His voice was flat, almost dismissive. Marcus frowned. "Are you sure? It's late, and I just saw a few guests check out earlier." Derek gave him a slow, condescending smirk. "Like I said, no rooms available." Before Marcus could respond, the glass doors slid open, and a well-dressed white couple strolled in. "Welcome to Regal Crest," Derek beamed, his tone shifting instantly. "We have a lovely suite for you tonight." Marcus's stomach twisted. He wasn't just being turned away, he was being shut out. His fists clenched at his sides. The storm outside was nothing compared to the fury building inside him. Marcus stood frozen for a moment, his pulse hammering in his ears. The injustice of it all burned through him like fire. He had spent years fighting against barriers, proving himself in boardrooms where he was often the only black man in the room. But here he was in 2024, being dismissed like an afterthought, like he didn't belong. His jaw tightened as he watched Derek, now all smiles, hand the couple a key card with effortless grace. No hesitation, no excuses, just blatant discrimination. Taking a slow, controlled breath, Marcus straightened his posture, forcing himself to remain composed. A younger version of himself might have caused a scene, might have demanded answers. But Marcus Carter was not just any man. He was a billionaire, a self-made mogul who had built an empire from the ground up. And men like him didn't need to shout. They acted. Without another word, he turned on his heel and walked out into the storm. Cold rain soaked through his expensive suit, but he hardly noticed. His mind was racing, calculations firing like a machine. This wasn't just about him. How many others had been turned away by people like Derek? How many weary travelers had stood at that desk, feeling the same humiliation, the same silent but searing rejection? His fists clenched at his sides. Not this time. Not him. Not anymore. A decision that changes everything. Marcus pulled out his phone and scrolled through his contacts, his thumb hovering over one name: Jonathan Ellis, his top financial advisor. He pressed call. "Marcus." A groggy voice answered after 2 rings. It was nearly midnight, but Marcus didn't care. "I need you to look up the ownership records for the Regal Crest Hotel. Now." There was a brief pause. Then, fully awake, Jonathan said, "Wait, what's going on?" "They turned me away," Marcus said, his voice level but laced with quiet fury. "I watched them hand a key to a couple right in front of me, Jonathan. No hesitation. I want the numbers. I want to know who owns it and how fast I can take it from them." Jonathan let out a low whistle. "You're serious?" "Dead serious." "All right," Jonathan said, already typing. "Give me 20 minutes. The research and the opportunity." Marcus didn't waste time. He ducked into a late-night diner nearby, shaking off the rain as he slid into a booth. A waitress poured him a fresh cup of coffee without asking. One look at him, and she seemed to sense he needed it. As the warm liquid soothed his throat, his mind sharpened. He had spent decades playing the long game, turning obstacles into opportunities. This would be no different. His phone buzzed. "Marcus," Jonathan said, his voice tight with energy. "You're not going to believe this. Regal Crest is struggling. Their parent company has been hemorrhaging money for months. Their investors are nervous." Marcus leaned forward. "Meaning?" "Meaning, if you make the right offer, they'll sell. And fast." A slow smile crept onto Marcus's face. The pieces were falling into place. The call that sealed the deal. "Send me the necessary paperwork," Marcus instructed. I want them to wake up to an offer they can't refuse. Jonathan chuckled. You got it. As Marcus ended the call, he stared out the diner window at the glowing lights of the Regal Crest in the distance. Hours ago, he had been humiliated in that very lobby. By tomorrow, he would be owning it. And Derek would learn firsthand what it felt like to be on the other side of rejection. This wasn't just business anymore. It was personal. The sun had barely risen when Marcus Carter's offer landed on the desk of the Regal Crest Hotel's board members. It wasn't just an offer. It was a statement, a direct acquisition proposal backed by undeniable financial leverage, delivered with the precision of a man who never lost. By the time the executives checked their emails, the decision had already been made for them. Marcus didn't wait for a reply. He knew they'd accept. By mid-morning, his phone buzzed. Jonathan's voice came through, laced with amusement. They folded. Marcus exhaled slowly, allowing himself a moment of satisfaction. Of course they did. They'll announce the sale publicly in a few days, but congratulations, boss. You now own Regal Crest. Marcus leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled. He should have felt victorious. And he did, partially. But this wasn't just about winning. It was about justice. And justice still needed to be served. A return with purpose. That evening, Marcus stepped through the revolving doors of the Regal Crest Hotel, the same doors he had been turned away from less than 24 hours ago. This time, he wasn't a guest. He was the owner. The lobby was bustling, employees moving with their usual efficiency, unaware of the seismic shift that had just occurred. But that would change soon enough. Derek was still at the front desk, chatting with a guest, wearing the same smug expression Marcus had memorized. Marcus approached, his polished shoes clicking against the marble floor. Derek glanced up, ready to dismiss another unwelcome presence, until he recognized the man standing before him. His face paled. Mr. Carter? His voice cracked slightly, betraying his confidence. Marcus let the silence stretch, watching as realization dawned in Derek's eyes. You remember me, Marcus said, voice calm but unmistakably firm. Good. Derek swallowed hard. Sir, I didn't know. You didn't know who I was. Marcus cut in smoothly, tilting his head. Or you didn't care. Derek had no answer. Marcus let the weight of the moment settle before speaking again. I'm not interested in excuses. I'm interested in accountability. He turned his gaze toward the hotel manager, who had just rushed forward, sensing the tension. Mr. Carter, the manager stammered, it's an honor to have you here. We had no idea you were. Save it, Marcus interjected. His eyes flicked back to Derek. Is discrimination part of the training here? Or was that just your personal touch? The lobby had gone silent. Employees and guests alike were watching, some pretending not to listen, others openly intrigued. Derek's face was burning red now. He stopped, realizing any excuse would only dig him deeper. Marcus let out a humorless chuckle. I don't tolerate this kind of behavior in my businesses. And as of this morning, this is my business. Derek stiffened. The hotel manager blinked. Sir? That's right, Marcus said. I bought Regal Crest, and one of my first decisions? His gaze locked onto Derek. Cleaning house. Derek inhaled sharply. Sir, please. I don't give second chances to people who treat others like they're beneath them. Marcus's voice was measured, but the message was sharp. You showed me who you were. Now it's my turn. The manager didn't argue. Understood. And just like that, Derek's tenure at Regal Crest ended. Beyond just one man. Marcus could have walked out then, satisfied that justice had been served, but he wasn't done yet. He turned to the employees, all of whom were now standing at attention, waiting to see what their new owner would say. This hotel is going to change, Marcus announced. His voice carried strong and unwavering. Not just its leadership, but its values. Because if someone like me, a paying customer, can be turned away for no reason other than bias, then how many others have been treated the same? No one dared to answer. I will not allow this hotel to be a place where discrimination, subtle or blatant, thrives. His gaze swept across the room. If you are a part of the problem, you won't last here under my leadership. But if you believe in change, if you believe in treating every guest with the respect they deserve, you'll have a place in this company, A few employees exchanged glances. Some nodded. And then slowly, one of the front desk attendants, a young woman who had been standing in the background, began to clap. Then another joined, and another. Within seconds, the entire staff was applauding. Marcus didn't smile, but something in his chest settled. This wasn't just about one man getting fired. It was about ensuring no one else had to go through what he did. This was bigger than revenge. It was redemption. A week had passed since Marcus Carter took ownership of the Regal Crest Hotel, but the ripple effects of his arrival were still unfolding. The air felt different, sharper, charged with the weight of change. Employees who once operated under an unspoken rule of elitism now found themselves questioning every interaction, every policy, every glance exchanged with a guest. And that was exactly what Marcus wanted. This wasn't just about firing one man. It was about dismantling a culture that had allowed bias to fester unchecked.